Good evening. It's 7:30 and I'm calling the July 26th meeting of the Historic District Commission to order. And I'd like to start with a roll call. May I start on my left, please?
Frank Johnson.
Greg Mann.
Mark Feinstein.
Mary Jo LaFrance.
Chris Kurtz?
John Roddy.
Dean Ventola.
Chris
Fine.
Berger.
We have a quorum?
Want to do the?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm reading for the record our operating protocols here. This commission is empowered to meet and act under Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of this commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg, are available on request to any applicant, and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard today. Each application heard today is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. And so the first order of business is approval of the minutes of our June 26th meeting. Commissioners, have you had a chance to look at them?
Yes.
Any comments?
No.
I do not.
Okay, open to a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It carries 5-0. All right, our first area of business, substantive business tonight is a historic area work permit for 105 Meme Avenue. Chris, have you a presentation?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
The subject property is a one-story rambler that was constructed circa 1953.
Let me just stop you for 1 minute. Up in the control booth, our screen pointing toward the dais is not on if there's a way to kick it on.
Or if we could have it on the screens in front of us, we don't have any.
Chris, you gotta switch it. Chris,
Is-
beside you on the left, on the right.
I see. What Chris does know, he was gonna get a lot of kudos for something else later,
Okay.
but they'll be modified. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I learned something. I wasn't
Okay,
paying
the
attention.
subject property is a one-story rambler that was constructed circa 1953.
Alrighty.
Obviously, this photo wasn't taken recently. You can see snow on the ground. 105 Meme Avenue is zoned R90 medium-density residential and is non-contributing to the Chestnut Meme Historic District. The HOP comes before the HDC in accordance with Section 24-227A of the City Code. The applicant has 3 work items. He seeks to cut down 2 trees, replace the fence on the west and south property boundaries, and demolish the existing shed. Note that the agenda says replace shed. The applicant intended to submit plans for a replacement shed, but he was not able to do so in time for this meeting, so he will return to the HDC at a future date with plans for the new shed. First, the applicant seeks to remove 2 red maple trees in the rear yard, indicated here and here. The first tree is located at the west property boundary, and the second tree is located at the east property boundary. This is the red maple tree proposed for removal and the east property boundary. The Chestnut Meme Historic District Guidelines note the following in regard to trees on page 13. Removal of live trees 2 inches in caliber and larger require a permit. Removal of a tree may require a replacement tree of 2.5 inches caliber, which, if advisable, should be planted close to the original location. Here's another look at that tree that we just saw, a closer look. This tree was recorded in the 1999 tree inventory for the Gaithersburg Historic District and was described at the time as being in fair condition. The red maple tree proposed for removal on the west property boundary, which is this tree here on the left, was not recorded as part of that survey, so replacement is not required. Here's another look at that tree. There's some damage down here, as you can see. Next, the applicant proposes to replace the 95-foot-long section of fence on the west property boundary, which you see here. And he also seeks to replace a 40-foot section of fencing on the south property boundary. Both sections would be replaced with a wood open board-on-board fence measuring 5 feet tall. The proposed fence sections will match the height and appearance of the existing board-on-board fencing located on the east property boundary, which is what you see here. And there's also a section of that fencing here on the west corner of the house. The style, placement, and height of the fence meets the Chestnut Meme Historic District guidelines and city code requirements. You can see here the existing fence is about 5 feet tall, so the proposed fence would also be that height. Finally, the 200 square foot shed measures 24 feet 4 inches long by 8 feet 3 inches wide. The shed appears to have been built at about the same time as the residence, which was built in 1953. The applicant seeks to demolish the shed because it is in disrepair, and there's a tree growing into the shed on the south elevation. As I said, the applicant intends to build a new, smaller shed on the footprint of the existing shed, and of course the new shed will require HDC approval prior to construction. The applicant, Mr. Gerardo Becerra Cardoza, is here if you have any questions. If you please come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello. I'm Gerardo Becerra. That's the reason I'm here, because you hear Chris about it happens, and then I get a complaint. I don't know, probably from you guys. The fence is already almost done, and I'm trying to replace. That's all. But at the same time, do you see the trees? The roots has taken the fence up, or they're breaking down. That's the only reason.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, before we go any further up here, does any member here have any conflicts?
No.
I just wanted to disclose that we're neighbors and live in the same historic district.
Thank you.
Okay. Good fences make good neighbors. Okay, Dean, I'm gonna start from the right.
Okay.
Change of pace.
I only have one question. Do you know the age of the shed? The house was built in '53. Do you know when the shed was built? Roughly.
No idea.
I estimated it perhaps to the house's construction, but you can't really tell because there's 3 different kinds of windows. I'm sure that they were just windows that were left over or readily available. It's wood, so I would say anytime from the mid-50s through 1970. It's
Okay.
really hard to tell.
Thank you very much. That's my only question.
John?
I don't have any questions. I have a couple of observations.
Yes, sir.
The red maples are called soft maples for a good reason, and both of your trees at issue have obvious wounds near the base. One of them is leaning substantially, the other has a dual trunk, which is an unstable situation for a tree that age and size. I have absolutely no problem about removal of those trees.
All right, thank you, Mary Jo.
I have more of a theoretical statement. When it comes to the shed, I believe with the architectural style, in theory, it's possible that shed actually belonged to one of the older properties and was left there when the house was built. I've had a closer look at it many years ago. It's a craftsman style and it has real wood siding, and yes, there's been some changes to it over the years, but I in fact think it's older. And that's just my own theory, I can't prove it.
Gotcha. Mark?
I have no questions or comments.
All right, well, we have a staff recommendation in front of us. Would anybody care to make a motion to approve that?
I would just ask that, and it doesn't have to be a condition, but if there is any salvageable material from the shed, if we decide in fact to approve demolition, that it be salvaged. That's all.
Okay,
And given to whom?
Well, Habitat for Humanity, and there are some other outfits out there that
Okay.
could take it,
I can add this option.
our chair.
I don't know what the applicant's plans are for a new shed, but if he were to hire someone to make a custom-built shed, they could possibly reuse some of that same material if that's
I
his plan.
think that sounds very acceptable as well.
Well, I like to live in the same style we have.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a little lawn, it's bigger.
Yeah,
But I'm trying to find somebody else can help me out to replace. But I had to take the whole thing out, put a new one to the same style we
And
have.
just move it a little bit, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the other tree we got on the back, you can see they also already making a hole, breaking down the hood we have on the back side. And then there's no way to live in the Chesaneer,
Yeah.
Yes.
because they
of
have
course.
holes everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Better for the shed and the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mary Jo, what kind of items, what elements are you interested in salvaging?
The wood siding,
Okay,
and, I like, again, to be fair, I have not actually stood next to it in many years. But any salvageable, possibly interesting architectural details.
okay. I mean, I would recommend then to offer that to Habitat to Humanity or whomever. But I don't know if I would require him to reuse any of these pieces.
Well, I don't think that Chris's suggestion was that we require it, but
Right.
suggest.
That I'm suggesting
Yeah.
to the commission
Yeah.
that I don't think it's necessary to require him to reuse any of this.
Yeah.
Of course, he can, but that's up to him.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Good. Someone want to make
All
a
right,
motion?
well, have we a motion then, and Chris, can you come up with language that will indicate it's a preference, but there's no obligation on the part of the applicant to per se use it himself?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Oh,
thought
somebody
we were
has to
going with
move.
no condition on that.
Yeah, it's no condition.
Okay, so we don't need
It's-
language because it's not a condition.
Oh, just a recommendation?
Part of the record.
It's
Chris,
part of the
are you
record, yes.
suggesting that we have language? or-
No, it's not
Okay.
necessary. I can just
Yeah.
work with the applicant.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Or we have to have a motion.
You so move?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, and have we a second?
I'll second it. Just to be clear on this, we are going to have just one condition, and that be the replacement of trees. Is that right? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because the one was part of the inventory, that's, we do have to have that one condition, yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have.
All right, so we have a motion
and
that has
second.
been made and seconded.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposition? No? 5, not is the vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
guys.
I'll give you a call.
Thank you, Chris.
Gracias,
See you
señor.
guys later.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes, now, racing right along, we have a shed at 102 Chestnut. Chris, have we a presentation?
Yes, we do. We're moving next door. The subject property is a two-story Queen Anne-style residence that was constructed circa 1900. 102 Chestnut is zoned R90, medium-density residential, and is contributing to the Chestnut Meme Historic District. The applicant seeks to construct a 96-square-foot shed in the rear yard measuring 10 feet tall. It will be sited 12 feet to the west of the existing 192-square-foot shed and 5 feet from the side property line. The shed will be built on a wood foundation with 30-inch deep anchors. The wood frame walls will be covered with vertical wood siding. The gable roof will be covered with asphalt shingles. Fenestration will consist of a wood brace door and 4/4 vinyl sash windows on the north elevation. The shed will be painted in the same color scheme as the main house and the existing shed. According to the applicant, the existing shed is insufficient. This is the existing shed. It's insufficient to serve as a workshop and storage for his yard equipment and hold the toys of his children. The Chestnut Meme Historic District guidelines note the following on page 21. Garages and storage sheds should be similar in architectural style as the main house. The shed meets all city code requirements for lot coverage, setbacks, and height. And the applicant, Mr. Philip Wessel, is here if you have any questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. Philip Wessel, 102 Chestnut.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've got one slight clarification that I want to just make. I don't think it affects anything for the record. As far as sighting of the shed, the diagram shows 5 feet off of the fence line. My intent is to be 5 feet minimum. I actually may end up with a little bit more setback off of the fence line. As I go to build it, I'm thinking about centering up the ridge line of the new shed with the ridge line of the old shed, just so it's more aligned. But
Yeah.
it's a minor thing, but I just wanted to be clear on the record
All
that
right,
5
thank you.
feet's the
That Give you a little
minimum.
more symmetry.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Russell. Any commissioners here have any conflict before we discuss this?
No.
Okay,
We also are neighbors and live in the same historic district.
got it. Let's start with you, Mark.
No, I think it's appropriate with what you're looking to do. I think the shed matches well with what you have in the backyard, and seems to be within the guidelines of the city code, so I have no issues with it.
I agree.
He has my blessing.
I have no concerns.
Great. Godspeed.
All right, thank you.
Then I
Thank you.
move,
So we need a
I
motion?
need a motion.
I move that we approve HIST 7658 2017 with no conditions.
Do you have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? 5-0 again. We're on a roll. Okay, another pesky tree. This time at 104 Chestnut Avenue. Chris?
The residence at 104 Chestnut Street, known as the Martha Meem House, is a two-story Second Empire building that was constructed circa 1880. 104 Chestnut is zoned R90, medium-density residential, and is contributing to the Chestnut Meem Historic District. The applicant seeks removal of a Norway maple tree to the rear of the existing residence at the boundary of 104 Chestnut Street. So it's this tree right here.
Uh-huh.
Staff described the tree as dead in the report, but leaves are growing on a single branch. You can sort of see them here. But nonetheless, it's in very poor condition. The subject Norway maple was recorded in the 1999 tree inventory for the Gaithersburg Historic District. So a replacement tree 2.5 inches in diameter is required to be planted on the property if it is removed. And once again, Philip Wessel is here if you have any questions. He is acting on behalf of the homeowner. He is the applicant.
Good evening. Obviously, this is tied to the shed you just approved because I'd like to get this out before I build a shed underneath it.
Yep.
The only comment or request I'd have for the commission to consider has to do with the condition of providing replacement trees. In talking to the neighbors and several other people within the neighborhood, the previous homeowners had planted several trees in the backyard, I don't know, 10 plus years ago, with anticipation of several of the older trees dying. So the property is fairly heavily wooded as it is. There's a number of huge oak trees as well as some younger oak trees in the backyard. Looking at the layout of the backyard and where the existing trees are and where this tree is coming out, and recognizing that it's sort of difficult to successfully plant a new tree within a certain distance of a tree you just removed, there's limited area in the backyard to plant additional trees. So my request would be that the commission take into account the fact that younger trees, some level of reforestation was planned for the property in anticipation of losing some of these trees, and eliminate that condition.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have anything that demonstrates the other trees on that particular plot?
If you go back to one of the slide you were just on, if you look, the image on the right, if you look just past that tree, you'll see right there is, and it's probably about close to 20 feet tall now. It's a younger oak that was planted and is in great condition. It's probably 40 feet from where this tree is. It's right behind the existing shed on the 102 Chestnut property. And that's one of the ones that's visible in this photo that was planted as a replacement.
And the other one is in the front yard. I'm very familiar with this property because I knew that the owners had in fact planted these seedling trees exactly how Mr. Russell has said. And if you look at the front yard picture where you see the hosta cluster at the far right corner, that there is the other seedling there. And I believe it's almost as tall as the house.
Yeah, I mean, both of these
Yeah.
oak trees have been established for some time and
Yeah.
are easily 25, 30 feet and thriving. I mean, I would guess they're 8 to 10 inches diameter at the base at this point.
All right, thank you. Dean, let's start with you.
I have no questions or concerns.
John?
I don't either, that tree's a goner.
It's fine with me.
I have no issues with the removal of the tree. I do, I do have a bit of an issue with removing the condition, in the sense that, yeah, I know there, trees have been planted and with this, and have been established on the property still. It's pretty clear in the code, and there's hard to, it sets a, not that we look at precedents, it does sort of set something up that someone could theoretically come in and say, yeah, I planted 3 trees 5 years ago, why do I need to replace it now? And those trees may not be as thriving as these two are, and I just don't like the idea of starting that process.
Well, may I say that in a different application, I believe last month, that we negotiated with the applicant and went with shrubs instead. So maybe that we could still have it as a condition, but give some allowance for a different kind of planting.
Yes, I could.
Does that sound
That's
reasonable?
fine with me, just,
I'm open to that as well.
Yes, makes sense to me. They could work that out with staff.
Yeah. The staff because again, it would be senseless to put up a tree that is not gonna make it and/or in any way impair the existing trees that are maturing. Okay, so that's acceptable to the commission?
that's
Okay.
fine.
So, have we a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendations, grant HIST 7659-2017 tree removal finding it to be in compliance with 24-227.2 of the city code with one condition: a replacement tree measuring 2.5 inches in diameter or comparable plantings or shrubs to be worked out with staff, be planted within 6 months after removal.
Okay, do have we a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Phil, thank you very much. Have we some staff updates?
I have nothing.
Okay, any commissioners?
I have a question. I think I know the answer to. There are some brick buildings on the WSSC property in the Chestnut Mean District. Are they historically designated?
They are considered
I
part of
thought
the
so.
historic district, yes.
Okay,
And I believe they're contributing to the historic district.
I thought so. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay. All right, I have a couple of things. One is kudos for Chris. I don't know how many of you read the newsletter,
Great
but
job.
I'm your representative on the Maryland Association of Historic District Commissioners. They have a newsletter, so they're always looking for news from the commissioners, and I was proud of what we did and what the city did, and so turned it over to Chris, and it's really great to hire smart staffers who happen to be journalists and photographers. So lo and behold, they put it in, and that goes to every commission in the state and every commissioner on those commissions. So thank you very much. It really serves the city very well, because I think the city should be very proud, really, of their efforts to do this, and maybe it'll inspire other people. But great job on your part. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
It was well written.
Thanks.
Frank, just to confirm, I will be, others can join, but I will be our rep on September 12th for the open meeting
Yes. Yes.
training.
And that is happening from 7 to 9 and at the KCAC Community Center.
Right. And just my thanks to the staff and my thanks to all the commissioners. It's really an honor and a pleasure to serve with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I have one more question. Chris,
You're
would you
insatiable.
mind? I know. If you wouldn't mind reminding some of us when we needed training, because of the fiscal year, I get confused.
Well, you satisfied for last year, which ended at July 1st, or June 30th would have been the last day.
Okay.
So we'll hopefully plan another one. We did it in March this past year instead of May. So if someone were to miss the March training, they would have a couple more months to find a different one. So hopefully we can do that same thing coming up
Fantastic.
next year.
Now, does the open meetings, is that considered training?
Unfortunately, I don't think that'll qualify.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
Alrighty, well, commissioners, thank you. The chair is delighted with the alacrity with which we've moved and would be very, very happy to have a motion to adjourn because I have a 8 o'clock conference that I'll join in progress.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.